Imagine a world without refrigerators, without freezers, without the ability to keep food fresh for weeks. This was everyday life in the Middle Ages. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and leave a like on the video. Now let's start. In times when freshness was a luxury and decay a constant threat, survival depended on ingenious tricks. Without electricity, without refrigeration, how did they keep food safe? The answer lies in ancestral practices, where knowledge was passed down from generation to generation, shaping cultures and palates. Prepare for a journey into the past, where preservation was a vital art. The power of salting as a preservation technique. In the Middle Ages, salt was more valuable than gold in many regions. Its importance went far beyond cooking. It was a strategic resource. Governments levied heavy taxes on it, and wars were fought for its control. But why so much value? Because salt literally made the difference between life and death. The salting technique consisted of covering foods, especially meat and fish, with coarse salt. This created a hostile environment for bacteria and fungi, dehydrating the tissues and preventing decomposition. It was common to see pieces of pork, beef, or fish preserved in wooden barrels and wrapped in salt for weeks. In the coastal villages of northern Europe, cod was caught in large quantities and immediately salted and dried in the sun. Likewise, herring became one of the most popular foods due to its easy preservation and long shelf life. Salting also had a strong cultural dimension. Families spent entire afternoons preparing the cuts, cleaning them and salting them carefully. The knowledge was passed down orally, almost like a family secret. The smell of salt and fresh meat was part of everyday life. It was a world where every grain of salt was carefully guarded. In an era without refrigerators, this simple technique was the safe of survival. Smoking, flavor and preservation. If salt was the silent guardian of food, fire was its aromatic accomplice. Smoking, in addition to preserving, gave food an unmistakable flavor, a mixture of smoke, burnt wood, and tradition. This practice consisted of hanging meat and fish in wooden structures, usually over ovens or fireplaces, leaving the smoke to surround them for hours or even days. That smoke, rich in phenolic compounds and acids, acted as a protective barrier against microbes and insects. The result? Meat that could last for weeks, even months, even in hot, humid environments. In small villages in medieval Europe, it was common to see houses with chimneys smoking day and night, where pork legs, sausages, and even cheeses were smoked. The type of wood used was crucial. Oak, walnut, and cherry were among the favorites, each lending a distinct flavor to the food. Smoking was also a social event. Neighbors gathered to prepare cuts, exchange techniques, and tell stories. It was more than a method of preservation. It was a community bond. Interestingly, even though they didn't know the scientific reasons, medieval people knew it worked. And in an age when losing food could mean starving, that empirical knowledge was pure gold. Drying, the art of dehydration. In an era when the luxury of refrigeration did not exist, sun and wind were precious allies. The technique of drying, or dehydration, was applied to a wide variety of foods, from fruit to meat to herbs. By eliminating humidity, an environment hostile to bacteria and mold was created, slowing down decomposition with surprising effectiveness. Fruits such as apples, pears, figs, and grapes were cut into thin slices and laid out on straw mats or cloths hung out in the sun. In colder regions or on cloudy days, the heat from the fireplace was used to complete the process. This is how dried fruits were born, not only long-lasting, but also sweeter, thanks to the natural concentration of sugars. Meats could also be air-dried after light salting. In some areas, regional variations arose, such as charqui in southern Europe. The combination of dry air, salt, and time worked wonders. Fermentation, a natural miracle. Another technique was fermentation. Aged cheeses, wild yeast breads, wines, and vinegars were born from invisible microorganisms that transformed the food, making it more durable and tastier. They required patience and observation. The climate, the exposure times, and even the type of food could influence the result. But in the end, they ensured a full pantry even during the harshest winters. Storage in ceramic containers and underground environments. Once processed, salted, dried, or smoked, foods had to be stored properly, and medieval people knew that where and how to store them was as important as preparation. Then, ceramic tubs come into play, real-time capsules. Often handcrafted in villages, they were made of baked clay and adapted to different foods. To protect them from the air, they were sealed with animal fat, beeswax or cloth soaked in vinegar, preventing oxidation and the intrusion of insects. Cheeses were soaked in olive oil and stored in jars. Vegetables such as carrots, onions, and cucumbers were pickled. Even eggs could be preserved in lime mixtures. Butter was covered in salt and stored in airtight containers. But the real secret was underground storage. Cellars and pantries dug under the houses maintained a constant temperature, protected from the heat and humidity outside. In colder regions, snow or ice was compacted into holes in the ground and covered with straw, giving rise to so-called snowfields. An ingenious system that combined empirical knowledge and respect for nature. And, surprisingly, many of these methods still survive today, silent witnesses of a time when preserving meant, above all, surviving. In a world without technology, without refrigerators or electricity, human ingenuity made its way through fire, salt, sun, and time. Every technique, every daily gesture was the fruit of observation, experience, and oral transmission. Preserving was not only a practical act, but a ritual, a culture, a form of shared survival. These ancient practices remind us how powerful knowledge and simplicity can be. In an age where food is ordered with a click, taking a step back offers us a new perspective. That of respect for food, for time, and for life itself. That's all for today. What do you think? Easy now with a real fridge? Let me know your opinion in the comments. It's very important to me to support the channel. See you next time. Bye.